This is the 12th of this series, Career Steps webinar series, hosted by the Graduate Student Committee at NARST. And yeah, we've heard a quote attributed to Isaac Newton that states that if I have seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants. Many of our graduate students are just beginning this journey. Some are in the middle and looking ahead. And so we are fortunate to have people like Dr. Chai who have seen further, who've gone ahead of us, and we can leverage their wisdom as we continue on this graduate journey and beyond. Today, as I mentioned, our guest will be Dr. Xiaoming Chai. He will introduce himself further in a little bit. He's a professor at the University of Georgia. Before we start, I want to talk just a little bit about these events. The Graduate Student Committee at NARST recognized that for graduate students, the transition from graduate studies to a fulfilling career can be overwhelming because there are countless possibilities. You can choose to go with academia, industry, government work, nonprofits, and beyond. But often graduate students find themselves uncertain, not knowing which path to pursue, or even sometimes how to begin. And so the Graduate Student Committee at NAST recognizes this challenge, and we provide these Career Steps webinar series, which are an engaging monthly webinar series designed to illuminate career trajectories. We offer practical guidance. Our guests foster meaningful connections within the NAST community. And this webinar series mostly features accomplished PhDs and seasoned NAST members like Dr. Chai, who have traversed the journey that you are beginning. And by sharing their personal stories, complete with challenges, pivotal moments, and unexpected opportunities, our speakers bring to life the myriad routes to career success. More than just being an information session, this series provides a space for graduate students to envision future possibilities, to build meaningful connections, and to develop confidence that will help them be able to thrive in their path. So we are so grateful for speakers like Dr. Chai, who are generous to offer their time to support graduate students. And this is the structure that we will follow today. So for 20 to 30 minutes, we will have a guest share their career journey, and then they will share insights, key decisions, and turning points. And then they'll provide practical advice for graduate students. Now, after that time, we'll open the floor for question and answers from our participants. And you can write your question in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask our guest your question. So again, thank you very much for joining us today. It is wonderful to have all of you here. I can see Florida is represented, Atlanta, Georgia, Arizona. This is amazing. And I know some folks will continue to come into the meetings as we continue. So without any further ado, I'd like to open the floor for Dr. Xiaoming Chai to speak to us today. So take it away.
Hey, everybody. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join this webinar. I'm really honored to be able to speak here. So I just wanted to mention, actually, I just came to South Korea for a conference, AIED conference last night. So this is early 3 a.m. in the morning. Um, so I just had a short nap, and then I come to this webinar. So um, excuse me if in the process I see something bigger, you just feel free to chime in and follow up questions. I didn't prepare slides. I assume this will be a more like a conversational dialogue, and I like to share my experience and also take questions and have great conversation to everybody. I wanted to first acknowledge and thanks the graduate student committee to offer this opportunity. I think it's critical for every junior scholar to have the opportunity to interact with some people. I think every science education researcher, they have their unique trajectory, how they come to this position. Um, as for myself, I was a high school physics teacher for 9 years. So during the 9 years, I was teaching in China. So I had a really great experience. And within the 9 years, I won a lot, numerous teaching research awards. So I probably one of the best known high school physics teacher in China 10 years ago. I was interviewed by newspapers, TV, and a lot of different um, social media. At that point of time, I really enjoy teaching. I think something set myself apart from my teaching experience is I really like writing. I really like doing research. So during the 9 year uh, teaching experience, I also wrote hundreds thousands of words. So some of the um, writing are about my experience with my students, my thinking, my reflection about my teaching, and some of the writing being published in some practical journals. So I during the 9 year probably is in the as a high school teacher in my 6th year, so I was able to teach in a national competition. So the national competition is a journey. Like in China, there's a culture. Like in order the teacher, um, it's 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 designed to help teacher to promote their career. Like you by attending the teaching competition, you have to study how to be a good teacher, how to teach, right? So I have to compete with colleagues in the same school, in the same school district, the same city, the same province, and eventually being selected to attend the national. So there are only two teachers from a bigger province, like where I came from, Shandong, being picked to attend the national competition. And I was able to make the national in the number one place in my teaching. Um, so that make me sometimes feel, oh, yes, teaching is so amazing, right? But how can I better help other teachers? So sometimes you find a secret of a teaching, right? And you wanted to let more people to know how to do this. So I was thinking, how can I help other teachers? So I talked with some professors at the Beijing Normal University, um, and they actually encouraged me to pursue. Maybe you wanted to do a higher degree, do a master, do a PhD degree. So I started to prepare, and um, in 2014, I started a PhD study at the Beijing Normal University. At my advisor so my PhD was in physics department. So I focus on science education, the K-12 levels, but my domain knowledge coming from the physics education. Um, that's an amazing journey, but not everything you being uh, success, right? So it's very I think that's very you in China in order to apply for a science for a PhD program, you have to take test. So instead of just interview application. So my journey is not that straightforward. I prepare for 3 years. The first year, actually, the professors really interested in um, admitting me to the program, but they have some national test, like you have to pass at least you have to because a lot of applicants you have to compete with other applicants. Uh, the first and yeah, the first and the second year, I had some issues about my English or other test subjects. So, and eventually, I was so lucky to be able to admit to the PhD program in 2014. I was so lucky. I also feel very grateful for this experience, even though it's not so straightforward. I think it's an asset. Let me feel like how valuable of this journey, right? To be a PhD student in a PhD program. Um, During the PhD program, actually, I was in a different city from my hometown, and my parents, my wife, and um, I think my son Tony, who's 4 years old, they were th living in a different city. So I lived in another city. We about 400 miles away from each other, right? So, um, but in China usually we're not driving for that distance. In order to meet my family, they have to commute by like a train. Um, so it's a great opportunity. I you know how difficult for me to get these opportunities. I really focus on doing research. So I used 3 years to finish my PhD program. And within 1 year in the middle, I was supported by a scholarship to visit the University of Washington. So I spent 1 year at the University of Washington. So the first year at Beijing Normal University, the second year at the University of Washington, the third year I came back to Beijing Normal University, and then I finished my program. I graduated. That's kind of a short journey, right? And during the 3 years, I really focusing on research. So there's nothing distracted me. I just focus on research. I at the same time I also doing teaching, like a part-time teaching in a like a teacher preparation college every week. It's kind of every week I spend 1 day in that college to teach in-service teachers. Um, so that's really a rewarding year. Um, uh, and in the first year, I remember I kind of publish a lot. So averagely, every month I have publication coming out from journals, right? And the second year at the University of Washington, um, I was also really lucky, and I had really great mentor at the Beijing Normal University and the University of Washington. Um, the most challenging part at the University of Washington was my English, my speaking, because I never take any TOEFL as some like international students. Um, and when I with the University of Washington, I had a graduate from college for about 10 years, right? So in the middle of the 9 years, I was teaching. I didn't use any English, so I have to pick up English and writing, speech, reading, everything. Um, so I remember the first day I visited my professor, I said, I can. My professor also was a Chinese American professor, and she speaks Chinese, right? She can, but I told her like, my English is not good. I really appreciate your patience, but I wanted you to not speak Chinese with me. I wanted to practice my English, right? So immediately the same day, I turned all my laptop into English. So there's no Chinese. I even, there's no Chinese on my laptop to type. So it pushed me to, you have to learn English, you have to think English, you have to write English, so everything. I was very lucky in 1 year at the University of Washington. I wrote my dissertation. Um, so the first year in Beijing Normal University, I already kind of finish everything. I started by doing good literary review in the topic that I really focused on, scientific modeling and assessment, learning progression. I published 3 review study in Chinese, where China, they have also different rank of journals that those are highly ranked journals, which helped me to understand literature. At the same time, I also defend my prospectors and I collect data. So I brought data to the United States. Then I first write in my dissertation in English. When I go back to China, I had to publish and defense in Chinese. So I translate my dissertation into Chinese. At the same time, I had one manuscript written and submitted to the British Journal of Education Technology, being accepted. So at the, I think I I'll get back to China, finish my visiting in by the I think by the middle of September in 2016, and then 1 month later, the manuscript was accepted to the journal. So I was so excited, right? So it's a really rewarding process. That's also my first English publication. Um, those are kinds of my then in China, one secret I needed to mention is, well, during my teaching experience, I did a part-time master degree, and in China we are using the British the European system, right? So you, in order to be admitted to a PhD program, you have to have master, and the master basically prepare all your coursework. So in the PhD program, there's no hard requirement for your course credit hours. So that's some um, um, like a difference from the US system. The US system, like they do not require you to have a master degree, but once they admit you to the PhD program, you're going to spend your first 2 years to do mainly like the coursework, right? So you can think of like in China, I was able to graduate in 3 years because I already had a master degree. I did the coursework there. Then the 3 years I primarily focusing on project dissertation work. Uh, so I remember uh, at that point of time, Beijing Normal University have a high criteria for graduation. Is that you have to have 2 publications, what like to be able to graduate from, as some minimum requirement to be able to graduate from the PhD program, in addition to some coursework, project work, and your dissertation. Um, so by the end of the first year, I already published, I guess, 12 high-ranking journal publications. So many of my colleagues, they were not able to graduate, sometimes because they are not able to, not because they are not able to have dissertation, they're not able to have the 2 journal publication requirement. So in the first year, I kind of already satisfies all the criteria in advance. Those are kind of my PhD journey. Then when I get a graduate in 2017, I was very lucky to receive an offer from Stanford to do a postdoc, So um, I I spent 1 year at Stanford, and then I um, received another offer from Michigan State to do another second postdoc. And I spent 1.5 years at Michigan State before I moved to Georgia as assistant professor. Now I'm a professor, right? So uh, those are kinds of the big picture. I think the 2.5 year postdoc experience really essential to me because um, I my all my study was kind of finished in China, a non-English speaking country, and when I come to the U.S., and it's a totally different or different education system. So how can you work in a system that you are not familiar? You've never been a student there, right? So the 2.5 year for me is especially valuable to better understand the US education system. So I was able to collect data and stay with teacher and students in the classroom and really learn their kinds of the most exciting part of their life at the same time to understand so what's the challenge in their educational system, right? Um, so at Stanford, my research focusing on kind of aligned with my dissertation because my dissertation I had a three paper um, format like focusing on uh, the developing like a learning progression of student scientific modeling, and then using the learning progression to train teacher to kind of provide a professional learning and support their teaching. So the three and a lot of my work focusing on assessment, and then in the middle year when I was at University of Washington, I was in their quantitative research method group. So that's kind of you understand my background from physics education, science education, and then I joined the quantitative research method group. That's a very unique experience to help me to improve my like a methodological knowledge expertise. So right now I have a lot of publications. Majority of my publication are coming from the quantitative study. Even though I also do mixed method and the quantitative study as well. Um, then the first year at Stanford, I continued doing assessment. So we spent a year and we're trying to develop a different kind of assessment with different contextual uh, uh, like background information. And we were really interested in to understand how the different contextual information impact the students' performance on assessment. So that's a kind of design assessment. So I help to create the assessment, uh, kind of align the assessment with some coding framework, some fundamental ideas. And then like during the by the end of my uh, first postdoc at Stanford, I got my kind of two or three paper accepted to the International Journal of Science Education and some other journals in the English journals. And then I at Stanford, it's a really great experience, right? So later I can summarize the some takeaway points from all the journey, but that's kind of the essential step and in my career that's really important. I also had a really great mentor at Stanford, and then I graduated from Stanford. I went to Michigan State. In the middle, I spent 3 months at the University of Illinois Chicago. Because some visa issues, I was not able to directly transfer to Michigan State. Then there two professors also being very supportive, helped me to invite me to be a visiting scholar there. So kind of bridge my visa and before I moved to Michigan State. And Michigan State, I originally joined their group they call ACER, so automatically scoring of assessment, written assessment group. So that group has had been supported, sponsored by National Science Foundation for over 20 years at the time when I joined the group. So they are kinds of the leading group in the nation at that point of time to do automatic scoring. So that's really aligned with my interest. And um, so I joined the group. Um, at the same time, this ACER group is under the Create for STEM Institute, which was directed by Joe Krychek. So, so I kind of, one time I worked with the ACER group, and I spent a very minor portion of my time with the Create with Joe Krychek on some other project and write grant proposal and publication, teaching, etc. So and I joined that's I joined Michigan State in 2020, July 1st. Not July 1st, it's January, sorry, January 1st, 2020. And then I left and I joined UGA in, oh, sorry, I have to refresh my memory. I joined Michigan State in 2019, January 1st. And then I joined UGA in like a July, August, right? August 2020. So I spent like about 1.5 year at Michigan State before I joined UGA. Now I'm being at UGA for 6 years, 6 years. So in my third year, I was promoted to associate professor. And now I'm being promoted to full professor. So I kind of promoted pretty early compared to most professor. So I have to obtain special permission from the provost to be able to promote extra early in my career. Um, and you see like the journey, right? So how I formed my research interest. At the beginning, I was doing I have my domain focus on scientific modeling, the kinds of science engineer practices, right? Learning progression. And by doing learning progression, I focus on assessment. You have to assess the students' learning progression. And then I gained the expertise from University of Washington about the quantitative research methods and measurement assessment expertise, which helped me to, being able to survive at Stanford. So we focus on assessment. But at that point of time, we were focusing on multiple choice questions. So we alter the items like a background or contextual information, and then being able to create a different set of assessment and assess the students and examine the difference. And then when I went to MSU, I kind of shift more focus on open-ended question and performance-based question to be more aligned with the NGSS. But when I joined the group, they kind of already been very successful, but they were, I think at that point in time, multiple postdoc in the group. But there are also some bottleneck. There are not many publications coming out from, so they have a lot of data, but they are uh, haven't been able to really transfer the data into some publications. So I was really they feel like they told me I was helpful for them, for the group to really transform the data and something into publication. So that's also coming from my background in like quantitative research methods. I know once I see the data, I have a lot of ideas how to write the convert the data into publications. And I also good at writing, as I mentioned in Chinese, right? So English writing is different from Chinese writing. I have to learn how to write. But once you know the logic, the writing, the key part is your logic, right? And you know how to write the game. You need to know how to play this game. um, so um, and in that group, in order to do the open-ended question scoring, I also took a online class from Harvard. So they have an online certificate program. So I was able to take the class and kind of to develop my expertise on machine learning, AI, data science. So that also been helpful. Like now you see my research has been leveraging AI for science teaching, learning, and assessment, right? But at that point of time, back in 2020, there's not many people um, heard about AI in science education. There not many people are really interested in AI, right? So I think right now, if you look at the field, a lot of people are interested in AI. I think that coming from maybe 2023, right? 2023, 20 after the release of the ChatGPT, people realize, oh, AI is so amazing. I can try AI for teaching, research, or something. But at that point in time, there's not many people really interested. At that point in that time, you look at my publication. I primarily use the keywords machine learning instead of AI. But machine learning is a key component of AI. Um, so at the MSU, when I joined the group, I found a lot of good opportunity. I feel like, oh, AI, machine learning is so amazing. We should let people know about this, right? So I started to not only working on my own, I try to help the community, build the community. So I um, submit like a proposal, a special issue proposal to Journal of Science Education Technology uh, on machine learning based assessment. So that's the first special issue, eventually being published in 2021. So we have 10 papers included in that special issue, which are like a pretty early work in the AI in STEM in science education domain. And um, so I was really lucky part coming from when I was at Stanford, no, at Michigan State, I initiate some grant writing. So um, and I write a grant proposal with my advisor there. So I kind of the lead writer. Um, lead contributor. So, but we were not lucky to really being funded when I was at Michigan State. But when I went to University of Georgia, we resubmit the proposal. We got funded. So my first year, I received two NSF grant. I was a PI. I was a lead PI for both. One grant is 3 million. Another grant is it's a conference grant. So the 3 million is a collaborative work with Michigan State University of Illinois Chicago, where I was working as a visiting scholar, right, and a West Ed. So that's the PASTA project. We have been working for 5 years, 6 years, 5 years, 5 years. Um, and we have a lot of publication coming from PASTA project. Um, and the project is focusing on how to support a teacher to make instructional decision making uh, using the automatically generated assessment report. That's the first grant. And the second grant, which received the same year, was a conference. So I organized the first AI-based assessment conference in Georgia. So we invited more than 40 scholars global wise. They come into Georgia and to do a 2 days conference, and eventually the conference result in a proceeding book uses of AI in STEM education, which is being published in Oxford University Press. So that's a 2021, right? I received two grants, and 2022, I organized the conference in Georgia. At the same time, at NARST, um, I invite Kent Crippen from University of Florida to join me, and we co-found the RIS research interest group. So RIS stands for research on AI involved science education. So that's at the beginning, we probably had about 10 members. Now the members has grown to about close to 200 members in that group. So we have right now we have large group. So Ken and I served as the co-chair for that group for 3 years. Now, in the past NARST conference, we just hand over to the new co-chairs of that group. That's the way like I help to build the field, the community, right? The conference at Georgia, and then this research entry group. So every year, the research entry group, we organize post sessions, um, invite people to present at a NAST conference. And we also have other opportunity offered to the NAST community, like an award. We have two awards, the most innovative research award and like a best worth reading paper, journal paper awards. So two awards being made every year to the community. Um, and so I spent in my 2022, we received the NIH grant. So along the years, so kind of every year I kind of receive grant awards to support my own work. And in 2024, so I was able to receive another NSF grant and organize the second kind of committee. We were sponsored by, we call Advancing um, um, AI in Science Education Committee. So we Kent Crippen and I organized this committee. It's a global committee, including 16 members, to really focusing on so the topic. So what we are trying to tackle for this committee is, so what the changes brought by AI to science education, or will be brought by AI to science education. That's the first part. The second part is how to responsibly and ethically address and respond to the changes. So that's the committee to charge. So we spent about 1 year working on this committee. So we had maybe 4 virtual meeting, and we had a 2-day in-person meeting in Georgia to kind of help the community. They're all leading scholars. So we systematically examine the how AI will be changing the educational goals, the pedagogy, the content, the assessment, and the outcome of science education. And eventually, this work has just been published. Um, uh, I think in published in April, probably in April. So by Springer. So that's a new book we contributed to the community, and um, and then the next year in 2025, I received another AERA conference grant. So I organized another like a conference in Georgia, and we invite again a lot of scholars coming to Georgia, and the focus in being more focusing on how to like navigate the teacher's roles in the classroom settings. Like it need to be a human in the loop, a teacher in the loop approach in order to responsibly and ethically use AI in science education. So that's another effort I help to. And this effort, we make it a little broader, not limited to science education. Instead, we invite scholars from STEM education, like mathematicians or math educators, also join the meeting. So in general, all the committees and the conference I organized, we have experts from different area, like with expertise in science education, teacher education, AI, computer science, data science, etc. Kind of to it's not only I treat all the conference and the committee not only kind of collectively making contribution to the community, but also as an opportunity for the committee members and the conference participants to learn from each other. So that's also helped the field to build the community. Um, those are some um, really exciting point. Along the side, I have been edited like 8 special issues around AI in science education. So including like some like a IGSE, right? So, we just finished a special issue in IGSE, um, Journal of Science Education Technology, and other special issue. And we also had a couple books. And besides the two I already mentioned, we had another book we call AI in STEM education research. So why I had this separate book? Because in the field, I realize a lot of scholars, they're interested in using AI for science education or STEM education research, but there's not enough materials being ready to do this thing. So I collectively invite my colleagues. We write this more like a textbook. So we have 10 topic in the book, and each topic we have examples, cases study, and we also release the code, or we write the code. So we hope that some junior scholars or some professor, they wanted to create some new classes, they can leverage this book and as some like a for some beginners to learn how to use AI methods in science or STEM education research. And currently, I'm the editor and chief editor of the Cambridge Handbook of AI in Education. We have 5 books, 5 or 6 books in this series. And I'm the lead author, lead editor for the Cambridge Handbook of AI in STEM education. So we have different focus, STEM education, assessment, teacher education, etc. So the handbook focusing on different area. And we just started this new series, and the new book currently the contributors being invited, and they have submitted their abstract outlines. So in the coming couple of years, we're expecting there will be other publication and a contribution coming out from the work, and will help the field to improve how to responsibly and ethically using AI in science and STEM education. Um, in 2020, in 2024, I also received a $10 million National Development Center grant from the IES. It's a branch of the Department of Education in the United States. So I'm the director of this center. So we call National Genius Center, which focuses on leveraging generative AI for STEM plus the education. So now we have a really large group. Um, I have multiple big grants going on, and the National Genius Center grant, we have close to 40 personnel on the ground. So I have um, more than 10 graduate students working on the ground, and um, we will have like maybe 7 or 8 postdoc been working on the ground. So some um, so the and there are also some faculty members from college education, computer science, college engineer, and some collaborators from other universities like Vanderbilt University, ETS, etc., to working together. So that kind of holistically to help the field moving forward. That those are some kind of journey. I probably provide a lot of overly provide a lot of details. I hope that can help you to have a big picture about my journey. And um, I'd like to take some question. Maybe in the process, I can also share some takeaways from my journey.
All right, the people are in the meeting. Please ask Dr. Chai questions. Thank you.
Either just unmute yourself, ask a question, or you can type question in the chat because we don't have a lot of participants today. So it can be a conversational, right? So you can just unmute yourself, and we can just talk through the process.
Thank you, Dr. Jai. It was interesting hearing about the evolution of your research and how you kind of leveraged AI and working in toward that area. In fact, I had to pull up your Google Scholar page and send it to a colleague because she is
Thank-
also working to develop tools that would leverage AI for science assessment. And so she may be reaching out to you in in the short
thank you, I
future.
appreciate it. Um,
But I don't have a question, just a comment. So thank you.
uh-huh. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Hello, Dr. Shai. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'd like to
Sure.
get your take on this current landscape where NSF funding for education and the Department of Ed is currently shrinking to almost zero.
Mhm.
How should those of us who are currently in doctoral programs begin to plan and structure our careers in such a way where
Mhm.
there is sort of this unknown about the availability of funding in
Mhm.
the near term? Thank you.
Mhm. Oh, thank you, Alex. Um, I think couple of things. First of all, in the peace program, uh, and even in the early couple years of your career, so usually in science education, we're not requiring the junior scholar to receive funding. So, right. So you don't have that pressure to must have funding immediately in your PhD program or like the couple of years before your tenure. I remember when I joined UGA, my department chair said to me like, oh, before tenure, you do not you need to have experience to write grant proposal as a maybe as a lead writer or whatever, attempt to submit a grant proposal, but you're not required to receive grant to be able to being promoted to associate professor or get a tenure. So first of all, no pressure, no hard pressure, right? It's always been great if you are able to receive grant. For example, as a graduate student, if you receive a Spencer Dissertation Award, a grant, right? Or you should receive other internal or external grant for your dissertation, that's gonna be wonderful. Uh, and as a junior scholar, assistant professor, if you are able to receive NSF or other foundations grant, that's also been very helpful for your career, but that's not required, right? So the first thing. Second of all, I think the last landscape will be changed, hopefully in the United States, right? So the politics, so hopefully in couple years, the big environment could have some chance to change. That will benefit every people. So if you haven't graduated from a PhD program, so you probably will be lucky when you graduate, you're gonna have good news. Uh, and the third thing I just want to mention is like the the AI, something I'm doing is prioritized by the current administration, right? So that's some areas, if you're really interested in, you could do some research, apply some grant, dissertation grant, something related to AI. Um, and uh, in terms like how to prepare your future career, I always think because every people's time is every people only have 24 hours a day, right? No matter how hard you're working, you only have 24 hours. So if you're doing this, you are not able to do that. So that's my general philosophy. So people look at my profile, they feel, oh, how can you be so productive? So honestly speaking, if you compare my profile, you'll find, oh, with some like a similar years of professors or scholars. So I'm probably a little bit more productive, right? So the thing is, like you need to um, learn how to give up something. You cannot do everything, right? So you only know how to give up something else, then you are able to focus on something, and you can be more productive. So, um, and my background is physical education. And in physics, the key, I think the core rationale in physics is you have to be able to catch up the the major picture and ignore some, minor trivial issues, right? That's you develop modeling, you model the world, you model the phenomena, so you capture the key features, or you ignore some trivial issues, right? So that's the key um, philosophy in my life, right? So I have to think which part I I can give up, and then so that I can be more focused on something else, right? Similar thing. We always in our life we always are facing uh, like a opportunity to make a decision, right? For example, writing a grant proposal as compared to write a journal paper, right? Of course, if you are able to write a journal paper at the same time you are able to write a grant proposal, that's wonderful, right? But see, if I focus on journal writing, if I use the time to write a grant proposal to write a journal paper, that can boost, my journal publication productivity at the same time, right? If I spread my energy, um, it depends on situation. So which career stage you are. So when I as a assistant professor at UGA, when I start like how risk ground or something, remember my journal publication has been very good. I productivity has been very good. So even so, I have papers, good journal papers published. I also have a lot of papers. They are in the review process, the pipeline. So I feel like, okay, if people is going to evaluate me by my publication productivity, I'm in a very good status. Then I feel like, oh, so then what's the next step? What's the next thing I can do, right? Then I feel, oh, maybe grant writing will be the next most important thing to pursue. So I pursue that thing, right? So, and then once I had a grant received, I feel I already been advanced compared to some peer junior assistant professor. I feel, so what's the next important thing I can do in my career? I feel help the field to build a community, right? So that's the thing I feel really important. So again, if I haven't received grant, I probably will first prioritize to write a grant proposal, right? Receive grant before I do other things. So you are always need to think this part for many graduate students. Uh, right now I have been working more than 10 postdocs, right? And every postdoc different. They're majority of the postdoc. I was very lucky. They're um, very smart, very diligent, but their training received are very different. So I think one key thing you have to learn from your professor is to see how their philosophy in their life and in their work, right? How they manage their work, right? Um, and that's also something I want my students and my postdoc to understand, right? Everybody, everybody, we're not able to handle everything at the same time. So always think about how to how to be more focused, how to better use your time. I can give another example, maybe is I know like many graduate students. So you across in your program, you will be writing something, right? Publications or something. Some students look at your collaborator list. By looking at your collaborator list, that can tell a lot of story, right? Some graduate students, their collaborator are graduate students. Some are like professors in their program, and some collaborators are coming from professors in other institutions. So during my PhD program, my collaborator has always been my major advisor. You know why? I can collaborate with my classmates. I can collaborate with other professors elsewhere. But remember, your major advisor is the person who committed to your career success. If you being successful, your major advisor feel being successful, being recognized, right? So he or she is the person who share the same interest with you, and she could sacrifice something else and focusing on helping you to build your career, right? So say you can always make a lot of collaborations. Which one is more efficient? Definitely your major advisor, right? So not every people realize that. I think that also account for some how how you like the difference of the PC program journey, right? So and another example is how to select the topic of your research. So if you look at my publication at the different stage, maybe you see difference, change. So at the beginning, I was doing modeling, assessment, learning progression, and then like I focus on machine learning based assessment. And right now I'm doing more AI in science STEM education, right? But at every stage of my career, it's been very focused, right? Why being focused? Like you can imagine like if you have the first publication focusing on scientific modeling, then your second paper focusing on how to assess scientific modeling, and then your third paper is how to use the assessment result to develop a learning progression, and how to use the learning progression to train teachers, right? You're always working in the same body of literature. You are aware of this literature. You understand literature. You don't need to read a lot of other things, right? If your first paper focusing on scientific modeling, and second paper on argumentation, another one focusing on something else, teacher education, you constantly change the focus area, and you have to read more literature, right? And you're gonna spend even more time to have the same publication coming out, right? So wisely speaking, you want to be focused. And that's also the expectation from the field. They want you to have your trajectory to be focused, right? But I have been able to see a lot of students, their research here, everywhere. And sometimes I feel struggled because it's challenging to convince the students. Some students, they have their own idea. They have their interest, right? So today they are interested in modeling. Tomorrow, because they read something or in one class, they're interested in argumentation. In another class, they feel, I'm interested in teacher education now. No, they constantly change their focus. That's the reason why you reduce your productivity, right? So understand how to use your time wisely, and that can help you to improve your productivity. That's some secret your major professor should have told you to every graduate student, right?
Yeah, and
Thank you.
You're welcome.
on that note, we are at the top of the hour right now. I want to take this time to really appreciate and thank Dr. Chai for making time today. Thank you for your generosity, for the wisdom that you shared. We'll continue to think about these things and put them to work. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for your time and join the session. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any further questions. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Enjoy
I
the
need to
rest of
get
your day.
some sleep.
Yes. Thank you so very much. Good
Okay,
night.
sleep well. Thank
All right,
you.
enjoy your
All right.
conference. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.